Good morning. Hi, welcome to Pepper's Place. My name is Pepper and you're joining me today for a very different video. One, it's god awful early in the morning and I'm about to go to work, which go to work means like go sit in the other room and spend all day on the computer. But I have meetings today, so I'm gonna be doing my makeup. So I figured today would end up being, you know, a perfect opportunity. Talk, you can tell it's way too early. Perfect opportunity for me to go ahead and share recent experience while I'm attempting to do my makeup. I think a lot of you are gonna cringe, anyone who actually watches this, because I'm horrible at doing my makeup. So any tips that you can offer would be appreciated. So while this is going on, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about a recent health scare that I had, something that I wasn't aware was a possibility. And speaking of which, I'm gonna have my breakfast. Premier Protein, the chocolate mint. It's my friggin' favorite. Mint chocolate, winter mint. Oh, so good. So I'm having that for my breakfast this morning because putting on makeup and eating an actual meal just doesn't work out very well. Not that this is gonna work out well in general. You'll see I don't wear makeup a lot if you haven't picked up on that already. All the videos I've done thus far are sans makeup, so it's gonna be interesting to see how this goes, to say the very least. Sorry, I'm opening. I had to buy some new eyeliner because I realized I hadn't bought eyeliner in like 5 years. Figured it was about time I get new eyeliner. Oh my god. Ah, rabid beast. Okay. It's already starting out great. Okay, so start with my primer. This is a new primer I'm trying. It feels really like soft and very like, oh, I just splooged all over. Anyways, it feels really soft and like silky, but I don't know if it actually does anything when I put it on. Like, I don't know. Or maybe I'm just not putting it on right. Once again, kind of proof that I don't know what I'm doing. Which you will see as we go. So yeah, any constructive criticism you could offer for putting on makeup, I'd appreciate it, because your girl has been in the world for far too long and still doesn't know how to do makeup. And I forgot to wet my sponge. Be right back. I don't know if I really needed that. I'm gonna try and use, I got just these new foundation brushes, so I'm gonna use that and see. I've got Estee Lauder, whatever, double wear. I mean, it works, you know, that's about all I ask in my makeup. Like, do you makeup? Yes? All right, then that's what I'm looking for. Though I think I'm gonna have to get more particular because I'm getting older. So, health scare. A couple weeks ago, I was home alone because I live alone. And I was in the midst of being productive, getting my shit done, all of that. Wow, really attractive. And was just getting everything done, and this was on a weekend. So I sleep in anyways on the weekends, as I mentioned in another video. And that means I've already gone probably about 10 to 12 hours without anything to eat or drink. Well, I woke up and I just had like this burr in my butt. God, I feel old. To get stuff done. And so I was just being productive, getting the things done, moving up in the world. I've like bathed the dog, we went on a walk, all of that. The dog is in cha-cha because she needs regular grooming because all about her. And I started grooming her, all of that. Well, by the time I started to make lunch, I realized it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh God. The amount of attractiveness that this is creating, not even. So it was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I remember looking because, you know, I was at the stove, I was starting to make my lunch, and of course I looked and it was 2. And during that time, I started noticing I was feeling like kind of chilly, a little sweaty, and started feeling a little dizzy. But you know, I didn't think anything major of it. So, you know, I didn't think much of it, just like, oh, okay, you know, obviously I need to eat, so I'll get to working on that. Well, apparently I was taking too long with trying to get my food ready, because all of a sudden the world started to, I got really unsteady, the world tilted very drastically. And I felt horrible. I felt even sweatier than before. I felt like I was gonna topple over. My heartbeat started racing. My whole body felt clammy, and I could feel like it was getting harder to breathe. So I went and rushed over to the chair and sat down, just trying to get myself, you know, a little bit steadier so that way I didn't fall over onto the floor. Because that was the last thing I wanted, because I'm 5'10", 5'11". I'm not a tiny girl. So that's a long drop to the floor, especially when you are living by yourself. Well, when I sat down, it didn't get any better. Things continued to rotate. And I've had you know, I think we've all had moments where it's like, oh, I think my blood sugar is really low. I need to eat something. Well, that's what I figured out. And I was like, okay, I need to eat something. So I got up and got myself, by the way, the world is sideways at this point in time. Got myself a drink, one of my protein shakes. But the problem is I picked one that you have to peel the thing off the top of it as well. It's not one of these where it's you just twist it and it opens itself. I didn't think through, you know, I wasn't that brilliant, unfortunately. So I picked it up and tried to peel the cover off of it, and my hands weren't working. They weren't coordinated, they weren't listening to what I wanted. It was really scary and very frustrating at the same time, because I knew what I needed, but unfortunately my body just wasn't working with me at the time. So last thing I remember at that point is me trying to peel the thing off, and that was it. That was it. Literally everything just blanked out. The next thing I know, I wake up down the hallway in the bathroom on the floor. And I'm on my knees propped up against the cabinet on the floor. I don't know how I got there. At first I didn't know how long I was out. Luckily, I keep my phone on me at all times because I do live alone. So I was very fortunate that I did have my phone on me. So at that point I checked and saw that it was 2:22. It had been 22 minutes that I was out. What capacity that was, I don't know, because I had no way of monitoring that, obviously. I was kind of out of it at the time, but it was horrible because you wake up, you feel really disoriented. You have no way of knowing what's going on. And I was still really weak, and I still needed to get something in my system. So I got up, managed to pull myself up off the floor, sat on the toilet for just a little bit just to try and get my bearings, figure out what the heck had happened, and try to figure out where to go from there. So I very carefully walked down the hall towards the kitchen and got myself something to drink. And finally, I noticed the chair was thrown on the floor. My drink was on the floor in one direction, the lid was off in the other direction, so I must have fallen and it just flopped somewhere. I don't know. needless to say, the place was a mess, but there wasn't much I could do about it at that point in time, so I wasn't really worried so much. So I decided to focus on just getting something in my system. So I took a little bit just to drink, had my protein shake. When I finally started to feel better, I sat down and messaged my boyfriend actually and my mother and let them know what happened, because you kind of just want to let somebody know that, hey, I'm not at 100% right now, and if you don't hear from me, it's something to be concerned about. So I talked to my mom and I talked to my boyfriend. He of course was freaking out. My mom is very cool-headed. She offered to come and stay with me, but she, I reassured her I'm fine. Because she had the grandkids that weekend, and, I'm independent woman, whatever, hear me roar. And I don't want to be a burden on people. So I just reassured her I was fine. It was nothing to worry about, but at least they were aware of what was going on, and they knew to kind of keep an ear out for me if I don't respond in a few days, send somebody over. So I kind of brought it up on some of the Facebook groups and on Instagram. And I come to find out, one, a lot of other people have had this happen to them. And two, a lot of those people didn't know, or two, I should say. So either a lot of people had this happen to them, or two, nobody knew that this was something that could happen to them. And I was kind of shocked, because when I talked to a nurse about it, she called it episodic hypoglycemia. So these are episodes of hypoglycemia, which, by the way, drink, where your blood sugar gets so low that you end up fainting. The problem or passing out. The problem is this just isn't like an easy faint, faint, get up. It can cause seizures, it can cause a coma, and it can literally kill you. It only takes one for it to happen. Now, I had the added bonus of falling. When I fell, I ended up hitting my head, so I had a bruise on this side. I had a bruise on this side as well. My knees were just to shit. They finally are no longer bruised, and that's like a month later, so that tells you how hard I hit the floor. Not that, keeping in mind that I'm no dainty little blossom, but I can only imagine how bad it would have been if I would have been closer to my surgery date and I would have been heavier, how much more damage I could have done to myself. So it's just one of those things where I was shocked to hear that nobody had known about this, that nobody had brought this up. Like, my dietitian hadn't brought it up, surgeon hadn't brought it up, none of the health groups, nothing. I hadn't heard about this. But when I mentioned it in the forum, in the Facebook group and on Instagram, there were a lot of people that were like, oh yeah, that happened to me. It was really scary, dude. And it's like, how is this the first I'm hearing of it though? A lot of people were really surprised that they hadn't heard of that before. And myself included, when it's apparently quite a few people have had this happen to them, and like us, nobody had mentioned it to them to begin with. So I wanted to kind of bring this up for obvious reasons. That is something that can literally kill you. And the fact that it hasn't been discussed by a lot of doctors, it hasn't been discussed by a lot of dietitians, which to me, this is something that a dietitian should bring up to you, because it can, it has to do with your diet, with how often you're eating, with what you're eating. And, you always think, oh, I'm fine, it's no big deal, I'll get some food in me. all of that. But when it hits so hard you can't stop it. And it's really scary because, you know, if you don't know what's happening to your body, if you don't know what is going on, you're not going to know how to fix it. So I wanted to share this with you all because I did look into how to handle it, what to do when this happens, so that if it happens to any of you all, you can hopefully do what's right and keep yourself from passing out, or at least can get somebody else in the room to make sure they look over you. Call your doctor, call your surgeon, or just call even just your primary care physician and just let them know what's going on. It's one of those things that, man, try and find my eyebrow stuff. I don't know where it is. All right, we're going sans eyebrows today. That's fine. Who needs eyebrows? Anyways, so the whole thing is, you know, I looked up kind of what you can do to help this. So obviously it's important. I try to keep at least 6 to 12 of these in my fridge at all times. And I get the Premier Protein in particular because you literally just twist it open. These little prongs on the bottom will break the seal that's there and will make sure that you can get into it. The one, like I said, I was an idiot and I chose one that you had to sit there and peel the little seal off. If I would have had that, maybe I would have been okay because then I could have gotten it into my system fast enough. I maybe would have recovered faster and not been out for 22 minutes by myself. Lord knows what happened. So one of the first things that you should do is, again, try to get something into you. If possible, it should be a liquid, something with protein, something with a little bit of carbs that can try to help get you boosted again. Now, you should do this before you get to the point where you're literally about to hit the floor. Do this when you start to feel dizzy or when you start to feel clammy. I'm gonna do my eye and then we'll get to the other and then anyways, hold on. So, sorry about that. So the next thing you need to do while you have that in hand, obviously, it's best if you have somebody there that can help you, but if you don't, you need to go and lay down. So the idea is that you want to get your feet up higher than your head. So lay down, prop your feet up. That's going to get the blood rushing towards your head because that's part of the problem is the blood is rushing away from your head, which is going to make you faint and pass out. So get the blood rushing back towards your head. That is going to help quite a lot and it should help with the dizziness and hopefully keep you from passing out. Stay like that, sip your drink. And slowly replenish everything. After, you've finished your drink, feeling a little bit better, get some food into you, like real food. Oh man, I forgot to curl my lashes first. Yeah, you want to get some actual food into you. That way your body can recover, your blood sugar can stabilize. And the next thing is call somebody. Make sure that they know what's going on. Anyways, call somebody. Let them know what's going on. Let them know how you're feeling. Let them know your concerns and ask them to check in on you. If they don't hear from you, then they can assume that, hey, something's going on. You need to be checked in on. This is something serious. This is not something to fuck around with. I am the type where if I mess up my body, I broke my hip at one point in time, fractured it, whatever, and I went on vacation with that. And it took me several days to realize my hip was really messed up, and finally went to a doctor about it. But I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, I took it seriously enough. Anyway, so the whole idea is you just want to make sure that somebody is aware of your condition, somebody is aware of the fact that you are not at 100% and that you may need some help, because that stuff can go downhill really quickly, and the last thing you want is to end up dying from a complication that, one, could easily have been avoided, and two, you know, you could have just simply told someone, hey,
done.
This is going on, throw my shit around, and I need some help. Yes, I'm still trying to find. So a big thing to just prevent this from happening in general: eat, drink. Obviously that's like a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised. It's really easy to completely forget or dismiss eating, especially when you have to do it so much. It gets really annoying, and you get to the point where you're like, I just really don't want to have to deal with it anymore. I don't want to have to think about it right now. I've got other things I want to do. So the whole idea is trying to keep your blood sugar stable as much as you can throughout the day. So one of the things I try to do now when I wake up is have one of these protein shakes. Reason being, it gets in your system fast, it gives you that little boost, and it helps you recover a little bit faster from, you know, sleeping all night with nothing in your system. From there, you know, and that gives me 15 minutes or so to get some real food in me. But at least I know at that point in time, I'm not gonna get dizzy, I'm not gonna be, you know, uncomfortable, I'm not gonna fall on the floor and faint. Make sure you get something in yourself, you know, in your body, something that's going to add to nutrition, something that's gonna up your blood sugar just a little bit, something that's going to help your body recover from not having anything for a while. Another important thing, again, get water in. Water is going to help a lot as well. Now, obviously, that's not going to replace calories and everything like that, but if you get dehydrated, that's not going to help either. So make sure you get your water in. Be aware of how your body's feeling, what you're putting into your body, and what your body's signaling to you. The last thing you want is to end up on the floor, or even worse, in the hospital, or even worse than that, dead, over something that is very easily preventable. Not a lot of people have heard about this. You know, like I mentioned, some people had this happen to them and they thought that this is just normal. It's not really normal. This is something that is able to be prevented, is potentially deadly, and needs to be addressed. So please look after yourself. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure you're keeping something in your system. Don't go an extended number of hours, especially if you're being active, without having something in your system. Our body doesn't get a lot of fuel at one time, so just steadily keeping it fueled is really important so that you can function and your body doesn't shut down. That's essentially what that was just like an emergency shutdown button that got hit, and I wasn't ready for it. I was very fortunate that I only had a few bumps and bruises to tell my story and, you know, traumatize some people around me when I told them about it, but that may not be the case for you. So please take care of yourself. Thank you so much for joining me. So this is what we ended up with. I mean, it's nothing too crazy, just a very basic look trying to be semi-glamorous while, you know, wanting it to look almost natural, you know, as natural as one can look with a ton of makeup on. At least I feel like this is a ton of makeup because I'm just not used to wearing it a lot. Or when I did, it was stage makeup. So it was like, wow, this is not. Anyways, thank you for joining me while I shared this story. I hope that this is something none of you ever experience and that this can be used as kind of a heads up to help prevent it from happening. And if nothing else, now you know what to do when it does happen. Please make sure to share this with any friends, family, or even strangers that have had this weight loss surgery, because like I said, there are a lot of people that did not know that this was going to be something that they would have to contend with. And it is literally life-threatening. You know, the last thing you want is to have something that is so easily preventable end up resulting in the loss of a life. So please look after yourselves, look after one another, continue to stay healthy, work towards your goals, and join me again in the future. If you like this video or want to see more like it, like, comment, and subscribe. Add your notes below, you know, either having to do with my makeup. Share your story. If you had something like this happening and you didn't know what it was, or, you know, maybe you did know what it was, but you know, it still happened. Share it down below. I want to know how common this is for people, you know, who are viewing this video as well. So be safe out there, and we'll see you next time. Bye.